William and David.
Well, long time no see.
They're just because there's a file sitting there and there's a couple people sitting there. So, sorry. Okay, yeah. Pat Long, actually. So I know we met last time, and obviously the concern there basically was
it Will? Was it?
Yeah, you thought I was him too.
Yeah, I know. I have trouble sometimes.
Okay.
David and William, right?
Indeed.
Okay. 'Cause
So
I've
you
done
just
that
say
before.
David and William?
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
wait a minute.
William, David.
Okay.
All right. So I'm still doing it. Okay.
No, you were right.
You know, 'cause I mean, last time I was in there,
Yeah.
I thought I was talking to you. But when you mentioned it, I think it was you actually that mentioned the thing with this ticket back then.
Yeah, we were just super
Right.
concerned right off the bat. I mean,
Right.
come on now.
And so, to be honest with you, I went and spoke to John Van Nida, which he said that you guys would be in to see them. And
Who?
John Van Nida, over at in 281 building that's kind of over here. He said you'd been there to see him.
Oh, like
He's kind of a
the,
tall surveyor kind of
like
guy.
like the, what do you call it? The records department or the GIS.
Yeah, type of
the
thing,
the tech services department. Yeah,
Kind of,
yeah.
So I mean, the first thing is obviously pulling the maps off of this thing. That's the first thing is pull the map off, which is what you guys did. I'm going, that map's not really going to help. It's the GIS map.
Which
And
one?
So what we did basically is, we looked at it closer, and we couldn't tell from the maps whether it was in the city limits or not. And so he basically said, I'm gonna have to actually go through the survey itself to determine that. And so what I'll do, which you guys may already know, because I may have had that conversation with you. Let me see if I can find that.
So,
So
but-
the
you-
bottom line on
so there's
this-
no maps that you can show us as to where we were.
There is. The issue basically, and let me hang on
Like
a
they
second.
did a little X kind of.
Yeah, let's just start off with like, hey, do you got a map? You know?
Yeah, hang on a second, let me,
Where did they find it?
Where did they find us?
and hopefully I've got the map to show you. If not, I think you guys are probably.
I bet you can point it out on a regular map.
Also, too, like I said,
Okay,
I was hoping that you guys would at least have the map that the patrol unit said they used,
I don't know that, because I mean, they're obviously, I don't know what map they use.
because they,
but-
well, yeah, because that's the whole behind the idea behind probable
Right.
cause is,
Right.
we
The-
they claimed
ma-
that we were in a park, so.
Yeah, the major thing that. Brought it over here, so we have it here, what I'm at, I'm brought that. Well, let me explain, because I think you guys ought to be aware more of it there, because I know when I reviewed the videos, one of the points that you were emphasizing was, make sure that you note that we were south of the, there's a concrete kind of
Yeah,
barrier.
yeah.
So basically what he did is he's saying, I can't tell from the map where the city limits are and the city limits aren't. I'm gonna have to actually go through the survey.
By the map,
Right,
can
so
you
the-
refer to the map that they used?
It was a map, it was a blown up
What,
thing.
what you're saying is you can't take a finger point if they.
Well, you could.
To go out there and.
I mean, I
actually,
know
like,
where, so
where-
here's,
Well, the city limits determining not in or not.
right.
So
So
whatever map he was using, that surveyor, could we see that one?
what he determined basically is that we couldn't determine from the map, and so he had to do the survey. And so what,
is this?
But hold on,
Right,
couldn't
so-
determine from the map, it's a line though, isn't it? It's just kinda like,
yeah.
it's
but
either
the-
we're in
the
or
lines
we're
in.
out.
So what he did basically is he had to look at the survey. And so
Okay.
the survey, basically, what the survey determined was that, and I can, so I guess I'm gonna draw it, which is there's a little portion of land that's behind the barrier, to the south of the barrier.
Okay, so that,
Right.
where the trees are and everything.
Right, and so
From
the-
college to that
And that's the
spillway.
point that you're emphasizing.
Can we at least start with a map just to, so we can all agree on where we were
Be
first?
on the same page.
Cause we're
Yeah.
getting ahead of ourselves already.
Because what we did basically is I brought the map over here so I would have it, and I can't find, so what I may have done is picked it up with paperwork and brought it back. But the
Cause
bottom
that's what
line,
we're.
the bottom line on this is that he did the survey, and it was determined that it was not in the city limits, which is what you guys wanted to know.
The survey is just where they just go out there and just see the actual spot kind of GPS.
Well, there's a
it.
bunch of, and actually I looked at it, and I'm not a surveyor, I mean, it had a legal description that was like.
Oh,
What they
interesting.
do is their surveying,
Right.
protocol.
Right,
Okay.
because my first thought was, that when we had talked is, I've gotta determine whether it's in the city limits or it's not in the city limits.
Yeah.
And so what we determined, just so you know, well, I don't have the map, I apologize, but what we determined, which is what you wanna know, is that in fact, there's that little thing from the barrier down, the land from where the concrete barrier is, down to the river, which is not it's owned by the city, but it's not in the city limits.
Okay, so it's owned by
So
the
it's not
city,
annexed into the
but
city.
it's not annexed into the city yet.
It's not in the
So it's
city.
not considered the city limits.
Right, it's not annexed, but what happens is, we've got a couple of natural areas that are nowhere near the city limits.
Yeah, I've learned about
Bobcat,
those outside.
soapstone.
They're in the county,
Right.
and they're managed by the city as a
But they are also-
city-owned or whatever city managed.
Even though it's outside, it's still.
Right.
Natural
So-
area.
So what
Natural
happened
area.
was, because of those things, back a while, what they did is they changed the code, basically, they changed the definition of natural areas, and basically what they did is they changed it to natural areas to mean any area designated or posted by the city as a city natural area, whether within or without the city limits, and shall include any trails to the extent the same are within the natural boundaries.
Okay,
So
so
what
what
it
was
did,
the
basically, the
natural
reason
li-
they did that is so they could prosecute cases in municipal court for mainly for Bobcat and Soapstone,
Yeah.
but.
Well, okay, so
but
what
it also
exactly,
covers- So the bottom line on this, where I'm coming at least, is that even though it's not in the city limits, because it was in the natural areas, and therefore basically, whether it was in the city or natural, it doesn't prevent us from prosecuting the case.
well, which natural area were we in then?
Gustav Swanson.
Gustav Swanson.
Gustav Swanson.
Could you show us a map of Gustav Swanson?
Yeah.
Yeah, just sorry.
Okay, let me.
Yeah. And also too, if it's not annexed yet, how can it be part of a city's park that's labeled Gustav but not be an actual
The natural
map?
areas, just like,
Yeah.
It's an
just like
annexation
Bobcat
process.
and Soapstone.
Yeah, so those are they're
There's-
actually mapped and designated as the actual park.
Well,
What we're saying
Gustav
is
Swanson is-
Gustav is an look, like I said, we'll see the map. It's a lot easier to describe than a map.
Alright, so Gustav is also designated as a natural area also.
Yeah, absolutely.
And.
Okay. So
This is a bike path.
yeah.
Alright,
But,
so what we're talking about, basically, we're a little bit east of College.
That's still the actual. Do we? Yeah, the one that you showed me that one day of like.
Did I show you that? I
It
don't
was
know.
an actual natural areas map.
Right, so
Yeah.
let's see what, I think I did. So that's.
Well, we can. Okay, so. I'll reach out for a second. I mean, why? We could use the one that I was told was available online. Which I've seen before, the most recent one. Well, also too,
'Cause I'm
just throwing
thinking-
this out there real quick before we go any further.
Cause I must have picked up the map that I had.
Yeah.
And took it back to the office, what I'm thinking,
So, yeah, but basically, if that's still Gustav, that's one thing, but if it's not actually labeled Gustav of where we were, then exactly how can they write a ticket that says Gustav and then
well,
drop
cause
the charges
Gustav
and
Swanson
refile
goes
them
clear
later?
to the river.
On that
Okay.
side, they don't have.
The barrier isn't the barrier
Oh.
of the natural
Sorry.
area. The barrier
Gotcha.
basically designates what's been annexed into the city and what hasn't been annexed into the city.
Okay, so,
So
but still though,
Gustav Swanson, the city owns it. They did all kinds of quitclaim deeds to acquire the property.
Yeah.
And the property that they acquired is quitclaim to the river itself.
okay, so, yeah, okay. Yeah. I guess so. Well, I don't care either way, honestly.
Yeah.
We're to the point where there's already constitutional violations with the fact that they yelled out camping when it was we were just in a park, we weren't even camping.
Well,
Another
this
thing
is this is a parks violation for being off house.
exactly, but if
It's
that's
not
the
camping.
case, why did they yell out camping? If I catch you here camping again, I'll get you an unlawful conduct. So when he said the word camping again, you guys sort of slipped up and sort of gave away that they're sleeping tickets. That's what we've been trying to get you on the whole time.
Well, what I'm
And
saying
so
is you can't be in the
Exactly.
natural areas between 11
Well,
and 5.
okay.
They're all under this.
Yeah,
same
it's
homeless
a
ticket,
you either
so-
catch them at night with a park curfew, you either catch them in the day with a tent as a constructed structure, or you catch them anywhere sleeping as a camping. They're all used
open
for the same
container,
thing of
anything.
moving people that you don't want to sleep
Yeah,
in
so I mean, that's
cars.
another, I mean, that's a
So,
whole nother.
am I truly violating the park curfew, or am I sleeping because I have nowhere else to go?
Well, the park curfew doesn't allow anybody to be in there, with
Yeah.
a couple exceptions between the hours of 11 and 5.
So what are your necessary government interests for why they're closed?
For natural areas?
Yeah.
Just so that people aren't in it, but anyway.
So people aren't, so that's your, so.
I mean, they have.
Because there's actual other places in the country that their park curfews, when challenged recently, got struck down because they weren't, you guys couldn't, or they couldn't, basically, narrow down the necessary government interests, and it was an ad hoc policies that they added. Well, basically, if you
I
let
guess-
other people in the natural area too, but you don't let us, it's kind of.
And
What?
as we talked before, and this kind of goes back to the same kind of thing that we've had with the camping and stuff. I mean, it's not my,
I got one question,
Sure.
maybe that'll explain this whole thing.
okay.
Is there anywhere in this, town or close to where you can sleep for free? That's basically what we were trying to find, is another
No,
area.
I understand what
where-
you're trying to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
I understand what you're trying to do.
tried the shelters, we tried everything else in our hometown, so.
Right.
Meaning we can't like bike that far out, so we were trying to find something
And that-
reasonable within close to.
What we talked about originally, I said, well, obviously you can't, there's nowhere you can bike up free in the city limits. Was
Yeah.
what the conversation we
Are
had.
you
Well,
starting
yeah.
to see the issues here?
No,
I mean,
Just
Kennedy
kidding.
has their own things, but even
Like I
then,
said,
it's like.
we've had this
where
conversation
we-
before too. I mean, I'm not, as a prosecutor, I don't determine whether the ordinances are constitutional or not. It's just basically, my job basically is to prosecute them until it's been declared unconstitutional. That may happen, but while it's still, at this point, our camping ordinances, our parks, the curfew violations, they have not been declared unconstitutional. And so until then, I don't do the drafting of the ordinances. I'm not involved in the policy of it as a prosecutor. I mean, I'm not involved. I'm down the chain. I don't make the decisions on what we're gonna do with the ordinances and how we're gonna deal with the camping issue. And that's all going on right now. But that's all above my pay grade, to do that. So right now, my position has been as long as, until obviously it's declared unconstitutional, then I've got a different issue. But until then, my job isn't to declare, that's the judge's job to declare whether it's constitutional or not. So I know, we've talked, like I said, it's not that I understand where you're coming from, I understand the arguments you're making, but, right now, in this case, the bottom line on this is that because it was in Gustav Swanson and that thing, and because of this provision, which, to be honest, was a result of, Bobcat and
Well,
Soapstone,
sure, but
that
the,
I'm not off the hook as far as prosecuting it, which would be, I would be off the hook if I didn't have, if it wasn't in a natural area, then I couldn't.
so it's in a natural area that's labeled Gustav, that's not in the city limits.
Well, most of Gustav, there's only a little bit of it that isn't.
It isn't, okay, that's
Yeah.
the one that's
And
south side of the wall.
So basically, it's that south. What ended up happening.
And so
when we
that's
did-
not actual city limits, but it's still natural area.
The city, what they did is they did the quitclaim deeds to acquire Gustav Swanson. So the city owns down to the river, but they did not annex that part into the city. And so there's a
Oh,
strip,
I
which is a
see.
strip that you guys I think know.
Yeah,
which
you
I wish I had a
kinda-
map, but I
We
think you know
understand
it.
that the natural area
Yeah.
is close enough, you got.
Yeah, we saw that
could write the tickets
you
for that, that's
purchased,
fine.
the whole river to,
Right.
recently, and then that's why the maps that we used online were incorrect.
And to be honest, when we did the
so-
blow-up map, when I was in with John and Ida, I mean, he couldn't determine, looking at the map, what was the city limits and
Yeah.
what was. He had to actually do the survey thing to
Yeah.
do that.
So-
So if you were in there talking to him too, he said that he showed you the maps. I'm sure we were looking at the same, but he couldn't determine, which is probably, I think, what he told you, I'm guessing,
Yeah.
is that I can't really tell you definitively whether it's in the city limit or not, unless I actually go through all the legal descriptions. Now, when I looked at the legal descriptions, I'm not a property, I don't do real estate.
No.
I'm looking and going like, oh my God, I'm glad that's you doing it rather than me, because the legal description, I don't know if he showed you, it was like, a couple of pages long with all kinds of various, so he had to take the time to do that.
Yeah. So the maps that we were using, were available via your website. There was the Gustav Swanson Natural Area map, there
Mhm.
was the annexation trends
Yeah,
map.
and like I said,
And then we used a county maps.lemmer.org/LIL. All three of those showed the same consistent answer of where Gustav was. The line went to the that go further, and so.
Well, the
Do you-
maps
you
that
do-
I looked at show, I mean, our guys.
Well,
Like I
trying to
said,
say
It goes
that
to the
was-
river.
Yeah, okay, so the map.
But you wouldn't tell from the maps whether it
But
went.
what
whether it
what I'm
went-
trying to say is I referred to maps that were incorrect, that are currently available on your website, and you're trying to prosecute me for being in those natural areas when I basically am going to plead ignorance to the law that you entrapped me. But when you say you see a map where Gustav goes to the actual river, one, can we see that map now? And two, where is that map available publicly? And if it's available publicly, how is it contradicting the other map that's currently available publicly right now?
Well, none of the maps, I haven't seen a map that shows that Gustav only goes to the cement barrier.
That was the map
yeah.
you showed me that day. I took with me. That's the map that's online right now.
So that's why
every
we
single
have it.
map that I've
So
ever
is that-
seen.
was that the
There's
natural areas map?
zero inconsistencies with the location of where Gustav
So
goes to
did
the
I,
barrier.
is that why I don't have did I give you the
Yeah.
natural areas map?
You mean
Okay, that's why, I'm trying to figure out why I don't have it.
Yeah.
'cause I
Oh,
gave it to
you
you.
gave it to me.
Okay,
You said
that's
you
all
had a
right.
spare or something.
Right.
But so what I'm trying to get at is,
Okay.
if you guys say that it goes to the river, which map are you using? Because it sounds like you had to use a surveyor. Are you using any map whatsoever?
The critical point basically in this case wasn't, what the surveyor would say is that we couldn't determine from the map where the city limits was. I actually had to go and look at all of the.
But the
survey.
point is not so much the city limits, is whatever the map shows
Okay.
of the Gustav Swanson National Area. And so if we look at a map you're giving us as a public entity, we can go online right now and just see once and for all. It shows Gustav going to the natural areas barrier, or to the barrier. And if you say shaking your head, I'll show you right now.
Let's pull out what?
You know? So, no, what I'm trying to say is, I'd be willing to challenge you guys, let's go to court, over the whole natural areas thing, because it does exist. You're right.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is, I think the jury would probably be kind of curious to know that I have been using a map like this, and so I was just kind of curious what your input is.
Okay, so I'm not sure, let's see.
If I use this map and it's not correct,
Let me
can you
talk
get
about
me?
the map, let me go.
Yeah, so it's really easy.
Okay.
This is what I did to get to it. Just type in Gustav Swanson. Yeah, so if he says he was unable to determine, or just actually use the word map.
Oh. Okay.
Actually, it's in the finder, so it's there. There it is.
All right, so this thing,
Yep, so fcgov.com/depart//finder/Gustav.
okay. Thank you, Aaron. So then we go to
And then,
Gustav.
yep,
Is that-
Gustav is right there.
All right.
And then trail map. This is one you showed me in the physical. See how that doesn't go to the river?
So what they're doing, I see this thing here. The thing that he's looking at, goes all the way down, 'cause this doesn't show the
Yeah.
all right.
So exactly. So it's kind of like we're gonna obviously agree to disagree. This is what you guys are available. You're showing the public. So it's sort of entrapment when you pick it up when it's not. So, but hey, evidently, the deeds or whatever you guys are surveyors are publicly available. So I should have known better that.
Well,
Whatever.
like-
If you want to try, if you want to go trial of this, I'm willing to.
Okay, well, so I guess the question, and I'm fine, at this point.
You guys think you got a case, sure?
Right, so I understand. So do we want to, set the case?
Can we request a jury trial right away? Do we have to do it in
Yeah,
writing?
you can do that, you can do it in writing, and,
It's not just an automatic, when I request a trial here, that you guys
yeah,
can just check.
what you need to do, what the statute, because we were in the front before, requires a written jury demand within 21 days from today. So, from that standpoint, you can do a written jury demand. Normally it requires a $25 fee, but I think, if you're declared indigent, they'll waive that $25 fee.
Yeah, I'm still dealing with the fallout of your 3-related rule, so I'm indigent until I get some sort of help for my.
Okay, right.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just throwing that out there. You guys are really railroading us these days.
Okay. Alright, so where they are basically is what you need to do, and it doesn't have to be anything formal, you can probably do it at the window there.
Okay.
From that standpoint, as far as, just saying requested a jury demand, because what the ordinance requires, what the statute requires, for municipal things is that you have to do a written jury demand within
Yeah.
21 days of doing a not
Yeah.
guilty plea.
Yeah, and like you said, or like I said in the
You know, whether you want
courthouse.
counsel or not, you know,
Yeah.
again, that's something that you're
Exactly.
gonna decide to do.
Yeah. Well, I admit,
So there's a couple of things, the
Yeah.
thing you were just talking about. We've got a couple of options. If you wanna go ahead today and request a jury trial, you can do that. If you wanted to request counsel, you wouldn't, the 21 days wouldn't start yet.
Yeah, see,
They
that's
would-
what you guys
Right.
railroaded me last time.
So
I lost the opportunity to have 3 of my cases go to jury trial because of that.
Right.
So,
So, what would happen there is, if you request an attorney, they wouldn't enter a plea. That's what I was understanding what you were saying there.
Mhm.
At least at this point, they wouldn't enter a plea. They'd appoint counsel, they'd do it like in county where they wait until the attorney had a pretrial conference with you. So it's still up to you whether you wanna get counsel or not. But that's
Nah.
kind of up to you guys.
we'll
'Cause I
probably
mean, that's your choice whether you want to.
exactly. We'll figure that out. Thanks for trial.
Okay.
Let's just do it.
So what I'm gonna do is set for trial, what you need to do is do the written, demand for jury trial, so you don't get, so we don't have that issue. that you
Oh,
had
no,
last time.
not
Okay.
missing it this
Right,
time.
I'm sure that won't happen again. Alright.
It was no, it was. I'll admit it was a little unusual. Like I remember reading the piece of paper and the thought crossed my mind, but then I was like, well, I have a public defender. He said that he would deal with it. I get to court and it's 2 days outside of the window, and at that point I was like, it was so convoluted. I didn't even want to waste the time to explain it to a judge. You guys actually got one on us, so.
Alright. And where I'm coming from today is, when we met before, I didn't know whether we were, I know you were insisting you weren't in the city limits at that time, and as it turns out,
Well, hey.
you weren't in the city limits.
I wasn't.
We're not.
Oh, okay, I was
Yeah.
not.
Right.
Oh, okay.
But I could.
Okay, so, gotcha. You clarified. So it was I'm still in the natural areas.
Right,
And
and
so
so
forth.
at that
Okay,
point,
okay.
when we talked at the.
So, real quick here, we were told that we would be removed and be arrested under unlawful conduct on public property for that location. 2 things. 1, if it's public property, and you just told me that it's private, you guys removed us from non-city limit property.
Well,
You
the
kind of
city-
kidnapped us.
It's still public property. The reason it's public property is that the city owns the property and it's open to the public. So it's not.
Oh, but
like-
it's not annexed.
Yeah,
For,
it doesn't mean that.
Oh, okay.
From that standpoint. So in this case, the curfew thing basically does, they posted in Gustav Swanson, you can't be in the park between 11 and 5. So the city limits, it doesn't mean that it's not a natural
Unlawful conduct on public
area because it's not in the
property.
city limits.
I guess it's still public property, but it's not. Well,
Well, it's open to the public.
yeah. Oh, that's right. It's still county regardless. That was a county charge on lawful conduct on public property. So public property is still, even if it's not city limits, it's still natural area.
The natural area is basically
So.
open to the public, and so that's
Okay.
what's there.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, anyway. But what we're
I
gonna
still
do-
think you guys are really screwing yourselves.
Well,
Like I said, you
I
showed me a map online. Your county website's also incorrect. Of what you guys upload or whatever to the county. Like I said, I tried my best to double check to see, because I'm trying
Well,
not to be persecuted.
Yeah, I understand that too.
And then you guys, you entrap us anyway.
I'm not
you,
trying to.
Like,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, what I'm saying is,
whatever.
and unfortunately,
We
what
were ambushed too. That was kind of an off-putting thing of like, you guys were waiting for us. So I don't know if that lends credence to more probable cause or less probable cause. Basically, I was just shocked that you guys lied on your police report, said that there were patrols that you were on. When we got there was no lights on, and then all of a sudden lights came out of nowhere, raced
Yeah.
us, and
Like
so
that.
hey, if you guys want to just whatever, whatever, I don't care anymore.
So what we'll do on this thing here, and what I did is I met with the guy that you met with, John Van, and
Tall guy.
Paul.
Yeah,
Paul
okay.
Ballard, or not.
Oh, good.
I met with him, and he's the one. First, what he did is he's the one, and he blew up the map and he printed a thing for me, and I brought it here so it'd be here for the arraignment. And I think what I did is I probably picked it up because I had a stack of papers and took it.
Well, we got this map to show
Right.
you. So,
Well,
like I
that-
said, that's all I'm trying to prove was that you guys printed wrong maps.
Okay.
So,
And
if you want to
then-
prosecute people that you tell otherwise, have fun in jury trial. That's all. So,
But the issue of whether, I mean, obviously it's a legal argument and whether you were in Gustav's Swanson, the legal description does that. I know your argument is saying, well, I didn't know I was in Gustav Swanson because they've got this map.
Yeah,
Map
exactly.
doesn't do it.
So evidently maps aren't enough. You have to go down. Presumably every public person that uses maps needs to double check with the records department, I guess, the deeds to make sure they don't violate. Can you put a little notice on the actual map saying these may be inaccurate and you need to go look at an actual deed
I don't know if actually.
to not get in trouble?
I'm not sure there isn't a disclaimer that says that.
Because
I haven't.
I don't know what entrapment is, but
Yeah.
good luck.
Yeah, my guess is there may be a disclaimer on that.
Oh yeah, I'm
When
sure
you
there's
go to the
like you
website.
can't use this
You know,
as
don't
legal
use this,
advice and
right.
stuff like that. Sure, fine. You guys got one of them, so whatever.
So anyway, what we're gonna do right now is I'm gonna go ahead and send you to the clerk's office.
We'll come back to the jury trial piece of paper thing, but to go request
Right.
trial. Period. Yes, let's do it.
Okay. Okay, so we'll do that, so get back.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Interview.
sorry.
It's okay.
All right, okay.
Well, hey, no, just so you're in your witness, we pulled up a map,
You wanna do that again?
Yeah, I want to see
and yeah, even though the map says that it didn't go to the river, the deed says it went to the river. So.
All right, so bear with me.
But yeah, I just like having Dave as a witness for everything.
yeah,
that
no,
you and I saw
right.
a map officially. You're the first person that showed me a map.
Was
Your
there
police
any-
officers refused to show me. I
there-
called
Well, this
police
was-
officers. I called dispatch.
I mean,
I went
this
down to
is-
the police station.
What I'm saying is this is a big secret, right? So obviously you were able to pull it up
Yep,
better
that's
than
it,
I
yeah.
was. So we started with the binder right here, I think is what we did, didn't we?
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
Gustav.
Oh,
that
that's
was
cool.
what was Gustav. Okay, and so this is what we pulled.
Trail map.
Trail map, okay.
And so, like I said, that's the one I used, and yeah, just
that.
shows
Where
it.
was you again?
So it
Yep,
went to
yeah.
the
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay,
So what went to what?
The green goes to the river. Is what they're saying. So.
and I'm just
Yeah, whatever. I told them that we're still going to fight it on the constitutional ground. That you said camping when it was a park review. We got multiple sleeping tickets. You know,
Oh yeah, after that incident, they had followed us for about 7 miles.
yeah, you guys even allowed to follow us to see where else we'll sleep? Because we've heard that before. We thought that was a pipe dream. Wow, you guys
We read
actually
online
followed us.
where,
Well, I don't know about that.
where
So
they will
stalking.
follow
What
and-
I don't, what I remember actually is you come like, well, let me tell you where we're gonna camp so you can send the police. We had that conversation. I said, "Look, I'm
Well, I guess what it is.
That's not my job, sit there and call up and tell the police, yeah, by the way, you know, here's where the. they
Well,
gave you
it
the
speeds
skinny
up the
when
cat
they-
and mouse game, so why not? You know.
It was about this one article of how this one homeless person didn't have anywhere to go, and the cops kept waking him up, following him out more and more and more until he was outside of town. They officially kicked out. And so that's what they were doing to us. They followed us to the Oslon, to the next place, then to Safeway, and they were stalking us to.
They would wait when we
Yeah,
were
when we were
stopped,
talking.
and then as soon as we saw them and started moving,
They actually
Like-
went really fast.
yeah, like
to
oh,
show
he's on
that
us,
they
kind of
were-
thing. Like, are you kidding?
So. That
So
just,
we're still going on the
screams
ground that,
persecution.
like we said, you guys ambushed us. You were clearly out there for us and not for the parks. Is kind of what I'm trying to say.
We've seen them do patrols in that
You
area.
know?
That was not a patrol.
Yeah. So whatever. You guys are lying in your police reports. That's for you guys to dig yourselves out of.
Okay.
So.
Good luck, though.
And like I said, I really, yeah, I wish all I could think is.
So there's a map. There's another
Well, when he
different
did,
map
he
that
blew up. I think, he probably showed you that map.
Yeah, it's a map. Oh, okay. So if it's the one I saw.
I think it's what you saw, it's just that he did it
He
from
showed
the-
a couple.
Cause he showed you some stuff over there. This was John and I that showed
Okay.
the map, and so he blew up the boards and so cause what I didn't know at the time when I saw him was we had the map, and it showed the concrete barrier and it showed the thing to the river, but, he said, I can't tell from the map that I gave you whether that's the city limits or not. And so what he said is I'll have to survey it. Then he emailed me and said, yes, now I've surveyed it. I went through the surveys, and that stretched from the concrete barrier to the
Is that email part of my discovery?
river as,
Is that email part of my discovery, or can I request that?
I don't know, I mean, I can give you the email, it's not a big time.
Can you print it out for me? Cause yeah, when I talked to him, I just didn't get proof that I talked to him, so it's kinda like,
Well-
since you went down and you know, got straight, same horse.
Well, I met with him and you met with him.
Yeah, exactly.
He said that he had met with you.
Yeah. So, but just that whole email to show that, that the surveyor did it, that it's all hunky-dory on your side, basically. We just need as much, you know.
Well, the email just basically
Exactly, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't wanna, basically, if you guys can help me avoid having to get my own surveyor out there, that's all I'm asking. An email that, obviously, it's the same thing, it's the same dude.
Right,
You
so I
know.
mean, we're not gonna argue that, you know, make you prove that, make you get a surveyor.
Yeah.
That's not the issue we're doing.
Exactly.
Right, 'cause it makes sense, I kinda, you know, I'm either in Salem or not, I'm like, well, you get your own surveyor. And,
I'm not in! Either way,
so this is what.
you guys should be moving people.
They just said they stayed. Well, it's the wall, it's the retaining wall we're talking about.
Okay, so if you say we were in natural area,
So that's what.
whatever you want, it's all.
All right, so what we're gonna do right now.
I'll see you in court.
All right, so I'm gonna send you around to just say.
I'm on
no,
the
you're
rest.
right.
No, right here.
So they'll do that.
Good luck to you.
around it.
Actually, no.
Good luck to you.
It's a record.
Oh, yeah, for the whole request thing, thanks.
There's a transparent.
I guess the contracts.